Eye of the Abyss Fumir comes with her unique mechanic, which is Detain. First of its kind in Epic 7. This does exist in other games, but they're all slightly different between games, so let's go over all the mechanics behind Fumir's version of Detain. So we have Detain here, temporarily removes a target from the battlefield. It can only apply to one hero on the battlefield at once. This means that in a Fumir versus Fumir matchup, or if you Salome copy a Fumir, whichever one goes first takes priority, basically. You can see I tried doing Fumir into Fumir, and then nothing happens when you S3, or if you Salome S2 copy the Fumir after somebody's already been detained, and then you try to detain again, it's also not going to do anything. And then Detain is maintained through Deterrence. Deterrence's unique effect on her is just because when somebody's in the ball, you can't see anything on them. You can't see their buffs, you can't see their debuffs. So Deterrence lets you keep track of her, like, the timing on the Deterrence, or on the Detain. One thing is that this effectively has permanent uptime because her cooldowns are so low. It's a 4-turn cooldown on her S3. Detain lasts for 3 turns, but she has an extra turn on her S2. So when the Detain, like, is freed, she has her S2 up. She's taking her turn already, like she's on her turn. She extra turns again, and then she just puts you back in the ball. So you don't really have any time to do anything. The only way to free somebody from Detain is to kill her. This can be a little bit hard because she does have stealth on her S3 and a barrier it's not like massive. It's not like a Payra barrier, crazy barrier. It's a decent barrier, especially combined with her stealth. So you're gonna need some way to strip her. If we get like a replacement for Milim or something, and also some buffs to that replacement, maybe that would be a good option. I'm actually like really hoping they do that, because besides Milim, we do also very much need a new Freerin soon. For the Deterrence, you also see it says unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effects. So this is talking about Fumir herself. When she has Deterrence on her, she's unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effects. So before she uses S3, you can reset her cooldowns, but afterwards you won't be able to. I tried doing Fumir into a Rom into Fumir, trying to detain 2 units, which this was before I actually read that it only works on 1, but even her S2 didn't get its cooldown reset, so this applies to her whole kit and not just her S3. Detain effectively works as a unique effect despite not saying unique effect. It's basically listed as a negative effect, which are typically respected by immunity and immunities, but it just think of Detain and Deterrence being just one unique effect together with like just the negative effect on the enemy and then the thing on herself. So it goes through immunity. You can see it went through on Tori here. I tried Bystander Hua Young, that doesn't work. Also tried Genesis Ross, because Genesis Ross is immune to a bit more things than Bystander Hua Young. He also got put into the ball. It can be assumed that Sylvain Sage Vivian and Benimaru also don't work. I swear there's some other units that have, but whatever. They all probably don't work, because this is basically just think of it as a unique effect. So what does work is Skill Effect Nullifier, because Skill Effect Nullifiers can block unique effects. What you're going to mainly be using is Bunny Dominiel. This is mainly for Guild War Arena, I think, because her AI does prioritize S2. So she will give herself an extra turn, and then you'll get all the stuff from B-Dom, and then you'll be able to block the Deterrence, or the Detain. Another unit with Skill Effect Nullifier is New Moon Luna, but because she does S2 first, the spell on this and or the CR pushback, she has 2 chances, really, to get rid of your Skill Effect Nullifier would remove the Skill Effect Nullifier. So that doesn't really work. You'd need, like, Christie or something to give Luna a bunch of effect resistance in order to actually try and resist her S2. For RTA, I don't think B-Dom even works, because she can just rip S3. So, yeah, more of like a Guild War Arena thing. I don't really know how else you're supposed to deal with her besides just putting like your least important unit in the front and sacrificing them, basically. Once she does have them detained, I think the rest of her kit isn't like insane or anything, because it's just like, it's a stun chance on S1. You can soul burn it for 100%. This is like, it's just, there's a lot of units that do this. And then her S2 itself is not that strong either. but you are still being put in a 3.5v5 or a 4v5. So let's quickly go a bit more in depth on the way her S3 targeting works. Like I mentioned, she targets the front unit, so you have some level of control if you're fighting her over who gets kidnapped, because it's just going to be your front unit. You might have some setups though where you're able to kill the front unit before Fumir takes a turn. In that case, who is going to get targeted next is resolves in the same order as dual attack ties, actually. So it goes front, then bottom, then top, and then back. This is the same way that Swift Flag Bearer Sigrid's S2 works. The dual attacks go with that exact order, which is also worth like setting your team to do. So besides just your front unit, you might want to assuming there's no like units that benefit from specific positions or like imprints, you might want to order your units in a way that your least important units or your most important unit is in the back, and then you just order it along the line of who you want to get kidnapped in what order. And then if a unit is stealthed, then you also cannot target them, so it'll just move to the next in line for who is available to be targeted. It is also confirmed that if you kill the whole enemy team and somebody is in the ball, the match instantly ends. So that is a pretty big advantage. You don't need to kill the guy at the end. There's some other games that do this where when the detained unit is the only one left, they'll reappear. Nope, this one, the match just ends. One unit that she has some funny interactions with is Nodos, because Nodos, he's got his funny little domain, and of course you can kidnap Nodos. His domain only prevents buffs and debuffs in the first place, and then after you kidnap him, the domain does disappear and Fumir manages to get her stealth and her barrier. Even though visually the domain doesn't disappear until after Fumir's turn ends, the God of Battle unique effect is gone the second Fumir detains him, so that goes away and then she gets her buffs, so she does manage to keep those. If you kill Fumir and he pops back out, the domain just instantly reappears again, which is kind of funny. There's like no suspense to it or anything, it just pops back. So that is one way that works. Another thing is, let's say Nodos isn't in the front and he puts somebody else in the front. Whatever unit was detained, when they come back out, they will keep all of their buffs and debuffs. And this is probably just because the way the domain works is that when he presses S3, it sort of full strips and full cleanses everybody, and then it just prevents them from gaining new buffs or debuffs. It's not like a continuous strip and a continuous cleanse. This does mean that when you free, say, the boss Arunka here, it ends up making it so that she keeps all of her buffs. And she'll keep them, like, even after people take their turns, she'll still have her buffs. And then you'll notice that once she actually does take the turn herself, she doesn't get her special buff back. So I think this is just the thing where she can't gain new buffs, but she can keep her old ones. Like, the ones that she has to, even after she takes her turn, she still keeps them, but she can't gain new ones. So if I pressed S3 there, I would expect the barrier and the defense buff from her S3 wouldn't really go into her either. So that is pretty much everything to know about Fumir and the mechanics behind her detain and her deterrence. She definitely looks pretty strong because being able to remove any unit is just very useful. I think on Arena and Guild War 2, you're going to have to start being a little bit careful about which units you put in the front. You don't want her to take your most important unit, of course. She's definitely meant to be a counter to some of these position-based characters, like Boss Arunka or Scales. Unconfirmed exactly how well she'll work into them, but I think even into like other units, being able to remove, like, just turn it into a 3v3 can give you some pretty strong advantages regardless.